the new Rainbow Dragon Fusion monster that was just announced, a card that I feel misses the mark quite a lot. A lot of times when new cards are announced, I wait a couple days because sometimes something new is announced that actually helps those cards. However, when the brand new GX Boss Monster Rainbow Dragon Retrained version came out, I did not wait more than a couple, or I think I waited like 24 hours, and I should have waited longer. A lot of you in the comments pointed out that there are likely going to be more Crystal Beast cards in the pack that this comes out in that can make this card not terrible, which, by the way, as a quick summary, I praise this card for taking 7 Crystal Beast monsters that don't have to be different names, but I ragged on this card for being nearly impossible to summon and not have a very reliable effect, and that's still basically how I feel about it. However, there were 2 more cards announced, and it kind of proves that I should have maybe held off for a little bit. So I've maybe learned my lesson here. I think I learned my lesson. It's a lesson I already sort of knew, but here's the text for the Rainbow Dragon if you haven't seen it. Like I said, take 7 Crystal Beast monsters, any of them, they don't have to be differently named. To summon it, you can actually tribute a level 10 Ultimate Crystal God monster you control, which is either Rainbow Dragon or Dark Rainbow Dragon, which I said in the video was pretty not practical, which I still think is true. Its effect lets you banish a Crystal Beast monster, gain its attack, which isn't super relevant. The reason being, a monster with 4,000 attack isn't going to benefit from having, at most, 1,800 more attack points. That just doesn't make any sense. And then the 2 effect is you can tribute this fusion summon card, return all cards on the field to the deck. Now, a couple people pointed out that this tributes itself, so it doesn't actually shuffle itself back in the extra deck, which in actuality makes it worse, because if it shuffles itself back in the extra deck, you at least would only have to play 1 copy of this card, but seeing it tributes itself and seeing it can only be special summoned by fusion summon and can't be special summoned any other ways, it's not like you can get it back from the graveyard. So anyway, this card isn't that great. I still stand by that. However, there's 2 new cards, and we have to talk about them because they do change a lot of things. So flip over here, and by the way, I don't want to become a channel that just looks at Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization, but I think for this particular video, it was a little easier to do it this way, so you can see everything. But that's just, I normally don't do videos where I just look at the Yu-Gi-Oh! Organization page, but today we are. Anyway, the first card is called Rainbow Bridge, which is interesting, and it looks just like the top 2 pillars of Ancient City Rainbow Ruins. That's whatever. And it's a normal spell card, pretty straightforward effect here. Add 1 crystal spell trap card from your deck to your hand, except Violet Crystal or Crystal Counter. That's fucking incredible, basically. This card basically does what the Crystal Beast Pendulum monster does, I can't remember the name, the Crystal Vanguard, I think, is the one that searches the spells. I don't even know, because we're never getting those in the TCG. It's never going to happen. Maybe in the set that we get these in, we'll get those. But this card's really good. So it can search out, I mean, maybe like the flashy YouTuber thing that people will say is, you can search Crystal Abundance with this. Crystal Abundance is sort of inconsistent even with this card. The important targets here are Crystal Beacon, Crystal Promise, and Crystal... sort of Crystal Blessing, I guess. You can't search rare value with it. Obviously, it doesn't have crystal in the name. But mainly, I feel like you'll just be using this as your 4th, 5th, and 6th copy of Crystal Beacon, which is really good. I like this card a lot. Alternatively, you can use it to search the other card, which is a trap card that we can take a look at here. Now, this one has a lot more text, so let's get through it. It's called Ultimate Crystal Formation, which means that you can search it with the other card. And it's a normal trap card. It has 2 effects here. The first one is when a Crystal Beast monster you control is destroyed by battle, send to the graveyard 7 Crystal Beast cards with different names from your hand, your deck, and or face up on the field. Special summon 1 Ultimate Crystal God fusion monster from your extra deck. So basically, if a Crystal Beast monster is destroyed, but it's it's destroyed by battle, which is really annoying actually, you get to send 7 differently named Crystal Beasts to the graveyard to summon the big boss monster. And then its second effect is if a face-up, basically if a face-up Rainbow Dragon, Dark Rainbow Dragon, or Rainbow Over Dragon leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, while you control it, you can banish this card from your graveyard, place any number of Crystal Beast monsters from your graveyard face up in your spell and trap card zones as continuous spells. So we have two different things here. A couple things to talk about, though. The main thing, to me, is that this thing weirdly... it sort of goes backwards. What I mean by that is... the one nice thing I had to say about the new Rainbow Dragon was that it didn't take differently named Crystal Beast monsters. And that's nice because there are a lot of garbage Crystal Beast monsters. Basically, the only playable ones are Sapphire Pegasus and Ruby Carbuncle. Topaz Tiger and Cobalt Eagle sort of get a shout out because they're the least sucky besides those two. But you really don't want to play Tortoise or Cat or Mammoth. Those cards don't do anything at all, even in the most casuals of decks. They just don't accomplish anything. So you don't want to play them. The cool thing about the boss monster is that it technically doesn't take those cards. However, if you want to play the trap card, you actually do have to play those cards. And you might even have to play more than one copy. Now, you could play one copy of them and hope to not draw it. Even if you draw it, it's fine as long as they don't hit the graveyard. And I suppose with the Crystal Blessing, maybe it's fine. You can also put them back to the spell and trap card zone with Pegasus for what that's worth. But you'd have to play at the very least 3 monsters that you absolutely don't want to be playing to resolve this card. The other problem, and this stems from why I still mostly stand in the same positioning that I had with the boss monster. The boss monster isn't very good. Even though this card summons it quite easily, or relatively easily, I mean easier than in any other method, the boss monster doesn't really do anything. This is a lot of work to summon a card that has no protection and just shuffles everything back into the field. You'd be better off, honestly, as much as I don't like Crystal Abundance because it's inconsistent, you in most cases would just be better off playing Crystal Abundance and not having to play Tortoise and Cat and Mammoth. That's kind of how I feel about it. It's a flashy play, yes, sure, and I'm sure casuals will eat this card up, but from a competitive standpoint, or even a rogue competitive standpoint, I don't think this card's good enough. And the graveyard effect is actually really neat as well, because even though it only is by card effect, not by battle, your opponent will basically never kill the Rainbow Dragon cards in battle, because they have so much attack points. So they're almost certainly going to remove it from the field with a card effect, in which case you can fill your entire back row with Crystal Beast monsters, which is pretty insane, actually. That's awesome. But I still feel like the boss monster isn't good enough. I don't think... So if you're playing this card, you have to play 3 of it, pretty much, because you want to see it. Then you have to play 3 Garnets, basically, 3 really bad cards. And even then, it's not like Topaz Tiger and Eagle are good cards. They're just not terrible cards. So you're still just playing the Pegasus and the Carbuncle as your good Crystal Beast monsters, but then you're playing a whole bunch of other garbage cards just to hopefully summon a Crystal Beast monster, set this card, your opponent kills it in battle, even though it's not, like, I don't want to say it's unlikely, but it's not necessarily the most likely. This card really should just be if it's destroyed. But anyway, it's destroyed by battle. You flip this up, you get rid of all the garbage cards in your deck to summon basically a 4,000 beater. So you're playing a whole bunch of stuff just to summon a 4,000 beater. I mean, at that point, you're doing all that setup. To me, I look at this card, and you're not even playing this for the summon of the fusion monster. You're playing it for when the fusion monster leaves the field. I think the graveyard effect is incredible, and I wish it was the main effect because I do think it's quite good and very powerful, and that is worth playing for sure. However, I do think I do have to say that Rainbow Bridge is insane. It is not once per turn, which is really good, and it is actually just better than the Crystal Beast Pendulum monster. Somehow those cards have gotten power creeped before we even got them. And I don't mean power creeped in like a general sense. I mean power creeped in their own archetype because now we have a better searcher. I think you'll still play them, but this card is just like fantastic. Rainbow Bridge is great. Definitely what they needed. It would have been cool if you could also add Crystal Beast monsters, but that might have been a little too much. But adding, I mean, with Crystal Beast, the spells are the best cards in the entire deck, so this card's 10 out of 10. The boss monster and the trap card, not so much, but I'll probably build some dumb deck with it. Anyway, though, I'm going to be slower on the card analysis here going forward. I mean, I pretty much always have been because sometimes shit like this happens where new cards get announced 2 days later and then it makes my last video, or a couple of videos ago, irrelevant. I don't want that to happen because I'm not really like a news channel, so don't think I need to do that. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this analysis. I'm really praying, I'm crossing my fingers that Crystal Beasts do not get another 2 cards revealed like tomorrow or something. But I'll see you guys later. Bye.